Thank you for your call.
I think what he's referring to, the Essenes in, I believe, 1940s, they discovered a bunch of scrolls by this community called the Essenes that dated back to literally about 150, 200 AD, and I think that some of them actually went even earlier than that. There's a great book by John Allegro called The Dead Sea Scrolls and the Christian Myth, and he was one that was appointed to look at these newly found scrolls, which were exceptional finds. They were, heavily guarded. I mean, the fear of the Vatican and the religious community in general were really trying to, restrict any new information coming out of the Utah. But these, essentially, he was the only one that started releasing information about these scrolls upon his analysis. There are about 5 of these guys. He was the one that was really trying to get what they had learned off of these scrolls out. And the other guys were extremely biased and extremely, well, in his words, they were looking at the monetary value and they refused to release anything for years. In fact, it was about 30 years before this thing finally came out to the public. And what John Allegro discovered, again, his book is called The Dead Sea Scrolls and the Christian Myth, because in his perception, the Christian ideology that the Essenes were practicing was not anything, it was very close to the New Testament, but it was absolutely different as far as Christ was concerned, and the doctrines that are associated with, the general doctrines that are associated with Christianity were not there. And I really highly recommend that book. However, their leader...
Peter, I gotta cut you off here real quick, man. We gotta take a break, but we'll be right back. Stay with us on the line there. All right, so back to my guest, and Peter, I apologize for cutting you off there. It's just, our breaks automatically hit at the top and bottom of the hour.
I understand. Back to the Essenes, which the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were found, document, which is this early, basically Christian group. It was actually pre-Christian in a lot of ways. Their leader took many of the characteristics of Christ, and the caller mentioned that. I don't remember them in my readings referring to him as the Christ, but I wouldn't be surprised because Christ literally means the Anointed One. It's a general title.
Right.
So I recommend to the caller to read John Allegro's The Dead Sea Scrolls and the Christian Myth. It's an excellent read, and it poses a lot of great light on this incredible historical document that was found that essentially has been repressed in many ways, and scholars have... He's been basically the only one. He was fired originally from his position because he refused to go along with the doctrine that essentially he didn't toe the party line, so to speak, like his interpretation of the scrolls.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Now that's pretty amazing.
Back to 9/11, I think we were talking about 9/11.
Right.
If there's so many smoking guns on 9/11, I say the World Trade Center 7 because that's the most intuitive to explain to people. Because when people see that, they just, everyone I've ever shown that to, a little question mark goes off in their head.
Now let's get into the Federal Reserve part of your film. I thought that, like I said, that was brilliantly done. Now, what a lot of Americans don't understand is that there's no law that says you have to pay an income tax. They don't realize that the Federal Reserve is actually a private bank. They don't realize that the IRS is actually a criminal organization that enforces something that's not a law. You have that now. I don't know if you're following this situation with Ed and Elaine Brown. Are you following that?
I am.
Okay, you are. Now,
I am. I am not as much as some people are, but I've heard the press conference, and I've been following as much as I can. From what I understand, things have not progressed anymore. There's still the standoff, as far as I understand. And
yeah, we're covering it here on our network, almost constantly. And so, I mean, what is your take on that? I mean, exactly, what is your opinion? It's obvious that they've already been convicted of something that's not a crime. All they're doing is they're trying. It's basically they're making a statement. It's not the fact that they don't want to pay money. They just want to be shown a law that says that they have to. They're standing up. They're making a statement for the rest of the citizens of this country that are being fooled by this system that has been ruling by fear for decades. And you don't pay your taxes, you're going to jail. Well, that's true. You do go to jail if you don't pay them. But the problem is that people are unlawfully going to jail and are still sitting in prison to this day because of something that's not a law. Give us your take on Ed and Elaine Brown.
I think they should be commended to the highest degree. The courage that they're showing to do this. The picture painted of them, of course, is being equated to Waco and equated to a number of other cultish type of environments. They refer to their house as a compound, as I'm sure you are aware of.
Yes.
What they're doing is setting a precedent, and they're doing a favor for the entire nation. if I could snap my fingers and do something, I would say that everybody, 100,000 people that are in support of this, that understand that the law is wrong, everybody just collect and march right up to that house, march right past authorities, and stand around that house in unity, because that's the kind of thing that needs to happen. The press needs to come into this more so than they have.